What's up, everybody? Welcome back. We're looking at the Dynasty Rookie Pick 106. In today's video, I'm joined by Brian, my brother, Jeff, my dad, our dad. How's it going, guys?
How's everybody doing?
Hello.
It is Friday, April 14th, so 2 weeks away from the NFL draft. Before we get into the 106 pick, if you could like the video and subscribe to the channel, that'd be great. We're going to be doing some Dynasty rookie mock drafts, and hopefully we can fill it out with some of you guys if you join us when we go live. But let's get into the 106. I mentioned it in the 105. Maybe you didn't watch it. Maybe you did. For me, the 105 is kind of the end of one of my tiers. And the 106 kind of starts a new tier. I think for the most part in a super flex league, we've kind of assumed it was Bijan, 3 quarterbacks for sure taken. I think JSN at the 105, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe Gibbs is gone instead of JSN or instead of one of those quarterbacks, and maybe a 4th quarterback's gone. So there's kind of lots of ways we can go with this pick. What do you guys think? Brian, we can start with you if you want of the 106. Let's assume 3 quarterbacks are gone and Bijan's gone.
Yeah, I think my answer is very similar to like the last one. It kind of just depends on like who's still there. So out of those guys that you just mentioned, it's like basically you can probably either get, running back 2, whoever that is. In your mind, it seems like the consensus is Gibbs, or you can get wide receiver 1 if Gibbs went. You can get quarterback 4, depending on who you think that is. I get the feeling from you guys like you're still not happy with the quarterback. Mike, you mentioned Hooker over Levis. So it'd be kind of interesting to see. If both those guys were still there, I guess, you could easily go one of those. But, I just like the either Gibbs or the receiver there with JSN, like whoever's still there.
Yeah, I like Levis probably more than a lot of people do, to be honest. I like Hooker more though, Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. But there's kind of all offseason it's been projected that Will Levis could be a top 5 pick. Could be one of the top 10 pick, and if that happens, we almost have to to some extent we have to respect that. And quarterbacks are so hard to evaluate, as we see a lot of busts and a lot of or guys that go a little later that do well. They're so hard to evaluate quarterbacks that if a quarterback gets taken with a 4th overall pick capital, like we can't let that slip too far down in our dynasty rookie draft. So you got to just, whether you like them or not, you got to kind of take a chance on them at some point. And I think the 106, I would be okay with it, if Levis is sitting there, and he has top 10, top 15 draft capital. So
yeah.
Dad, what do you think? Which way are you going with the 106?
Yeah, I know 105, I talked about wide receiver. I think I would, I don't know, you start thinking about a super flex dynasty. Geez, you do need quarterbacks, and Hendon Hooker might not be a bad guy, I think, and Levis, yeah, he's probably in the same category. I would have a hard time though not taking one of the other wide receivers. I know I said Addison, but so JSN. There's a couple other running backs I would consider, but definitely if you need a quarterback or you're looking towards the future, you're trying to build toward the future. I know we want guys who can score points. So I'd probably go a wide receiver, one of the top 2 or 3 wide receivers at 106.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. It's an interesting pick. I don't know. Like, I definitely want to be in that top 5 over having the 106, and if I can somehow move up into it, that'd be great. Or if the draft falls to you how you like it in the 106, that's good too. I'm just worried about overall. Like, I like what I see from these receivers. The consensus. I don't know. Definitely JSN, Addison, Quentin Johnson seem like almost locks to go in the first round. It will be interesting to see where they do go. And then Zay Flowers can sneak in there, maybe like a Jalen Hyatt from Tennessee. But I'm just kind of worried about like what are these guys' fantasy production going to be like, in my opinion. So that's why I would maybe lean quarterback here, just because there's so much more value if you hit on a quarterback than a wide receiver who's decent, right?
Yeah, I think that kind of gets back to what we talk about often is drafting for need kind of thing, and kind of like playing the format, right? Like, I mean, if you need a quarterback and you're sitting in like this middle of the, this means you're not terrible and you're not good either. Kind of like with that 6th pick, it's kind of like, I mean, where else are you going to get a quarterback? Like, I mean,
That's right.
I mean, you're not getting them in the 2nd round. Like, I'm sure, 6 guys will be gone by then, or I guess 5. Well, yeah, maybe even 6. I don't know. But yeah, at least like the top 5 guys, I would imagine, aren't going to be there. So maybe you think about even trading this pick, which I know is kind of like our next segment. Like, maybe think about who you can. It'll be interesting, Mike. I don't know how you can sort like the trades that you ask us, but I'd be interested to see what it costs to move up those couple of spots, or even one spot or whatever. And yeah, I think that's kind of like an interesting kind of segue to the trade value of these guys. But yeah, it does seem like you're kind of a little bit in like no man's land a little bit. Like, there's plenty of guys there, but no one's a sure thing. I mean, no one ever is a sure thing, but definitely there's no consensus once you get to this point, I think.
Yeah. I mean, one thing I will say about, again, why I always talk about I'm not going to necessarily draft for need. It's just because you can trade guys. You can trade things. Like, just because you draft a guy doesn't mean he has to be on your team. Like, so if I'm sitting at the 104, for example, and I'm just like, I have 4 quarterbacks, and it's like, well, I don't need a quarterback. I'm going to trade JSN. I just think, or draft JSN or Gibbs. I just think it's a huge mistake, because it's like the value of quarterbacks you can get from them in trades is just so much more than a running back or a receiver, unless the receiver's like a top-notch guy. So it's like, just draft a quarterback and then trade one of your other quarterbacks, or trade the guy you just drafted, and you can get a lot more for the value than if you're just trading Jahmyr Gibbs or drafting Jahmyr Gibbs. So
and like to get the same result, I think is it'd be the equivalent of you just trading back, because I mean I've thought about that a few times, like where it's like, well, what if I just trade back a couple of spots, get an extra piece, and like you said, I mean if there's like 3 guys you like there at 4, then it doesn't really matter if you're 6 or 4, because you're going to get one of them. So I think reading in the draft, like trying to play on like people's emotions a little bit, like they're like, oh, I have to have this guy. Like, he's the last guy on my board basically that I want for my pick, and I'm 3 picks away. Like, I'd be talking to those guys that are a couple of picks behind you, or even more than that behind you, and really try and figure out like what they want.
But I also think like people are a little hesitant, because we haven't seen a lot of people play fantasy, don't watch college football, just watch the NFL, so they don't see these guys. So even like taking Anthony Richardson with, for example, at the 104, with in mind of like, okay, as soon as he gets in, or as soon as he starts doing well, I'm going to trade him away, because then people are going to be much more like, oh, he's actually good, like,
yeah,
I can be much more willing to trade for him. So, yeah, in terms of the trade value, I got some straight up for a player, 106 for Kenny Pickett. You guys doing that in a super flex league? The 106 for Kenny Pickett.
I don't know. That one's borderline for me. I don't know what else like to throw in for. I mean, he's going to be a starting quarterback. Like I think his job's pretty secure for at least like this next like year, probably longer. He was taken in the first round, right?
Yeah.
Last year. Yeah. So I mean, he's got some pretty good job security, I would imagine. We didn't see much from him last year, but I mean, we haven't seen anything from any of these rookies in the NFL, that is. So, yeah, that one's borderline for me. I'm not sure which way I would lean.
Dad, would you take it?
So I just think of this: Kenny Pickett for Will Levis or Hendon Hooker or something. I just use that situation, and I'm not sure I would do that. To tell you the truth,
Yeah.
That's
Which side do you like better, Dad?
What do you mean? Yes or no?
Would you rather have Kenny Pickett or one of those other two quarterbacks you just said?
Well, now Pickett's a year ahead of him, so in the development, and he didn't do much last year. He had some decent games. Expecting more out of him. I'd probably, maybe Hendon Hooker or something. I think.
Yeah, I could see that for sure. Even if Hooker is a second round pick, would you still do it? Does that change anything for you?
Yeah, not really.
No.
I don't think that matters to me very much. So.
Yeah, I'd probably keep the 106. I'm not a huge Pickett guy. Anyways, I do think he's going to have some security. The way I look at it with like AFC quarterbacks, and I look at it the same kind of with like Mac Jones and Kenny Pickett, it's like you need to beat Mahomes, you need to beat Herbert, you need to beat Burrow, potentially Lamar Jackson, Trevor Lawrence. It's just so stacked of like with quarterbacks. It's just like you need to beat these guys. Are you going to do it with Mac Jones or Kenny Pickett? Like, I don't know. Like maybe if you build an amazing team around them, but at some point people are going to be like, we need to beat these guys. These guys are going to be here for the next 10 years. Like we need to get a stud. We need to get a playmaker at the quarterback position. That's just what I feel with that, with guys like Pickett and Mac Jones. So I'll probably keep the 106. In terms of, I have a couple where you mentioned about moving back or what it takes to move up. I think to the 106. So what about the 106? You move back to the 108 and you pick up the 204. You like that, Brian?
I don't think that's quite enough, honestly. I would ask for like maybe a second from next year also on top of that, and maybe that would make me more interested, because I do feel like you're starting to put yourself out of contention. Like, I mean, if you don't, it depends on how you feel about that 106. Like, if there's anyone there, this is kind of like what I said before. Like, if you're sitting there and you got three guys on your board, then yeah, do it. Get the extra pick, but I'd try and squeeze a little more. Maybe even
Sorry. So I was just going to say, like, let's just say, like, this manager, they did their work, and this was kind of like the best they could get. Like, they couldn't get anything better. Does that change it for you? Like, yeah, then I would take it. Or if you're just like, no, I'm keeping the 106 then. I guess that's how I'm looking at the trades.
Yeah, I'd probably keep the 106.
All right. Dad, what about you? You get the 108, 204.
Yeah, I think I'll keep the 106.
Interesting. So then for you guys, there's kind of like a tier break between the 106 and the 108. Yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I think after 106, it gets a little...
I think there's a soft break. It's not a hard break. So
yeah. See, for me, the the heartbreaker is the 105. So I'm looking at it like the 106. It's kind of like, okay, Gibbs, one of those Levis or Hendon Hooker. There's already 3 players. I also kind of like Zay Flowers, Quentin Johnston. I still like there's like 5 guys that I'm like, yeah, I'm fine with any of those. So I'm just going to move back 2 spots and then pick up an extra pick. Like I'm totally fine with that because the tier break for me was the 105, and between like the 106 and like the 109, there's like a 110 even. There's several guys in there that I'm okay with having if I can pick up an extra pick or player. I have one more of like a moving back, and we'll see if this. So it's moving back to the 109. I don't know. I guess you guys probably won't like this one, but because you said no to the other one. But moving back to the 109, you get a second round next year, a third round in 2025. I assume that's a no for you guys, right?
No, I don't like that.
Yeah, that's going too far back. I mean, it's 2 years, and
yeah.
I mean, just for that third rounder, I think, nah.
I feel like that third rounder in 2 years, like it's not worthless, but it's like I don't value that at all, like especially for this year.
The only thing I would consider it for is trying to use it in a future trade. So
yeah, okay. Well, what about a couple more I have here? Would you do the 106 Cam Akers and Jordan Love for Justin Fields? 106 Cam Akers, Jordan Love for Justin Fields. Brian,
I'd rather have the play. Well, I guess no, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't trade for Fields. I'd rather have Jordan Love, Cam Akers, and the pick. Just because, like, I mean, we haven't seen what's going on with Jordan Love. We have seen what's going on with Fields, but I don't know. I think Akers will be fine this year. Again, this always is like difficult before the draft, but I mean, as of right now, he's the Rams' leading running back. We got to assume they're going to be better. I mean, I don't think they could be any worse than they were last year. Mm-hmm. Plus, you got the pick to kind of like bolster your roster, build a little bit of depth, and you can always take, like we were kind of saying, you take one of those other quarterbacks. So I guess is Jordan Love plus Hendon Hooker and Cam Akers, is that worth? I mean, that's 2 quarterbacks in a super flex. Is that worth Justin Fields, which everyone's obviously going gaga over? Rightly so. I mean, we saw what the guy can do. So I think I'd rather take the 2 quarterbacks, or the pick, Jordan Love and Akers.
Yeah, I think if the Packers are ready to move on to Jordan Love, I think, the fantasy world needs to be ready to move on to Jordan Love. So I think I'm keeping the pick and then Jordan Love and see what he does. So Fields, again, I always think the running part of it has a little bit of a life to it. Justin Fields had a great running year. His passing, didn't look too swift. We know, there's a lot of issues that need to get fixed in Chicago to have a decent passing game, but and they could be fixed. Hey, Justin Fields at Ohio State, he was a very good quarterback. I mean, I never knew he could run. I mean, he was that prolific as a passer. So, but anyway, I'm going to keep Love and Akers in the pick.
Yeah, Love was a first round quarterback, right? Like he was taken in the first round.
Yeah, okay. Like pick 24 or 5, somewhere there.
Yeah.
And everybody went, "Whoa, what?" But
yeah, because I didn't mention it, but it's a 12-team league. I think that makes a difference. 10-team, I'm probably doing it because I think Cam Akers means a little less in a 10-team league than a 12-team league, assuming you starting like 10 or 11. 12-team league, I'll probably keep the 106 Akers and Love, just because I think Akers is good for more of a 12-teamer. You know, the guy you get at 106, and I like Love. I've liked him since college, but I'm also okay with taking this if you think Fields is going to take a step up, specifically in the passing game, like Josh Allen did from year 2 to year 3. Maybe not to that extent of being like, you know, prolific 40 touchdown passer guy, but if you think he's going to be a more talented passer and you believe that, then I'm okay with also taking that, because then he enters the Herberts and the Burrows and the Mahomes tier of quarterbacks, in my opinion. You know, so I guess we'll try and get one. I know we didn't really talk too much about non-Superflex.
Definitely.
Ryan?
Oh, go ahead. I think I'm on a delay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So non-Superflex, any of these interest you? 106 and Jameson Williams for Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Which side?
no. If I'm the owner of the 106 and Jameson Williams, no, I'm not taking Diggs.
Okay. Right.
Sorry, I'm on a delay, so I don't know how quickly I'm going through. Okay, yeah, no, I'd rather have. It's kind of funny because like either side of this trade, I don't think I'm making that trade necessarily. I mean, if I have a losing team, I'm definitely trading Diggs for the 106 and Jameson Williams. Like, but I don't know. I could totally see just like not even wanting that necessarily for Diggs, like wanting more for Diggs kind of a thing. I don't know how much more you could possibly get. I think that's a pretty good deal, but yeah, I like the potential of Jameson Williams plus whatever you get at 106 better.
Okay. Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that thinking. I like Jameson Williams. I'm kind of high on him. So, but yeah, we'll finish it up there. And yeah, if you could like the video, as always, subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back looking at the 107.